Hello everyone, been online for a while, just a bunch of school work and etc, school and stuff. Anyway, today I'm gonna be reading a Minecraft fanfic. I'm not really sure when I decided to do this, but I just felt like doing it. It's called Stalking the Wither. It's a crossover, if you probably couldn't guess that, of Stalker Shadows of Chernoble, I believe. I'm not really sure what's the difference between them and Minecraft, as you could already guess. Probably. Okay, so let's start off this fanfic. Steve, age 24, specialties mining, combat, and unknown. The unknown is actually just something about potion making, but I'm not going to read that part. Steve woke up in a daze. He couldn't believe what happened just very few nights ago. He had fought the Wither, but he failed to save his friend. While he couldn't have done much, he did manage to retrieve his friend's items in hopes that one day he will return, and perhaps he could return them. But he hasn't returned for quite some time now, so Steve decides to keep them for a while. He puts on his iron armor. He never dares put on his friend's original diamond armor because out of respect. He walks outside with a single tear rolling down his left cheek as he thought about what had happened mere days before. The Wither was still a mile away, maybe more. He couldn't see it, but he knew it was there. He could still feel its presence rather close. But he never dared go any closer to that creature of hell. He pulls out a sword and begins to go hunting for some animals. He required leather to make some brand new armor, or to at least reinforce his current ones. He finds a couple of cows, but he is a bit too depressed to kill them, so he decides to just go down into the caves, where he feels safe, which would have been odd if it wasn't for the fact that he found in a cave. He lived most of his life down there. Sorry, I read that wrong. He mined a lot of things from there. He found his first diamond there. He created his first base. He even found his very first friend there, too. Although his friend was a little strange, he was still around. He just finds it still odd that he hasn't turned on him yet, but he doesn't complain about it. He went down there, his sword drawn, knowing that the lack of torches, due to recent years of not being able to mine coal, caused it to be a little harder to see. Most of the torches were very distant, not in a straight line, so there were large gaps of darkness in between each torch. A couple of zombies were wandering around, but he paid them no mind. They didn't seem to spot him, and even if they did, he could easily kill them with a single swing of his sword. It was enchanted, after all. He could easily take them down. He didn't bother mining any of the iron or gold nearby. He was more interested in lapis for some reason. He found it curious how it was more helpful to him than any of the other actual materials out there. He felt another presence, though, one that wasn't of the zombies or the skeletons nearby. It felt a little bit like the Wither, but much more eerie, and a little more frightening as well. The feelings and chills running up his spine. As Steve turned around, he noticed 3 strange glows. One was in the shape of a tiny little dot, as if a star, but the other 2 looked as if they were entire bodies. Not blocky bodies like his, like the rest of the world how everything was made up of, well, blocks. It looked as if one of the legendary other humans, as his friends used to call it, the ones who have bodies that are smooth, they have no edge, which means they're nearly immortal in their world. They could easily take down anything with these things called guns. But Steve never actually saw anything called a gun or anything that resembled one. They were told to be silver and orange and a bunch of different colors, depending on their creator, mostly. Steve didn't have much information on these other humans, but he usually kept an eye out for them, hoping to ask them questions, see what they can do. Maybe see if he can salvage something if he ever finds a ruin of one. He approached the three lights. One began to move. It held out an arm that seemed to have a strange V-shaped object in its hand. A loud clicking sound came, one you would normally hear off the trigger of a crossbow. But although it was a bit shorter. Hang on, sorry, did I read that right? Oh, sorry. Alright, the clicking sound was a bit lighter. Not sure where the shorter came from. It sounded as if it was merely a small little click, like as if a crack of a bone. Not as the crossbow bolt sound of a loud smashing sound. It sounded less of a click, more of a crash. But it was still called a click for some reason. At least that's what all his friends said. And then a loud thundering crash was heard. Steve's entire body froze as he felt a surge of pain going through his stomach to the rest of his body. Blood began to seep out. He nearly lost consciousness there and then, until he remembered that he had a health potion and quickly drank it up before he lost full consciousness. Another loud crash came. This time, it didn't cause pain. It just whizzed past him. A loud zipping sound came from his right ear, and a loud came from behind him. Steve turned around with slight concern at what just happened. The lights had vanished, but there was still an odd glow in the middle of the floor. As he fully turned around, he saw that a zombie had lost his head. The head was actually splattered everywhere. The eyes on the roof of the cave, the skin on the floor, and some of its brains stuck on the walls. Most of its blood was splattered all over Steve's back. Steve's eyes bulged out in sheer horror at what just happened. It sounded like what one of those guns may have done. He figured that it was either a really bad daydream, or what he just experienced was a light the size of a other human using a gun. But he just turned around and walked back home, worrying of what might happen next. Then he saw something very familiar. 6 eyes, all staring at him. Those yellow and white glowing eyes that caused so much fear before, now only caused anger in Steve's body. It was the Wither, and it was staring right into his soul, waiting for him to make the next move. Okay, so that's the end of Chapter 1. I'm not really sure if this is gonna wind up getting a lot of views. Wait, why am I even saying this? I have no idea. But I hope you enjoyed, because I certainly did. It was certainly interesting, but, sorry if I wound up sounding really weird. I just have a little bit of trouble talking recently. So I hope you enjoyed, and see you next time.